Welcome back to the in our YouTube channel, the home of album reviews, discography guides and think pieces. Now today's video, it's time for another episode of the Not So Forensic Record Society, episode 12. This is series 2, episode 2. I've found out that I quite like doing these videos, and because of the situation that I'm in at the moment, it's easier to make them, but also I enjoy making them, so you can expect to see a couple more at least within the next few months, I would say. And basically, I'm really looking forward to today's episode because finally, after a year and a half damn near, Gallagher is back in the hot seat, ladies and gentlemen. Yes, the witty wizard himself comes back, and we're back to the old configuration once again. We must have done this recording and scrapped various versions of it up to 4 times just because of scheduling conflicts and what have you, but we finally found time between the two of us to do it properly, and my god was I excited to get back into this, because there's something great about when Gallagher's on one of these episodes where it's just so unpredictable. You never ever know what's going to happen. You never know what he's going to pick. You never know what he's going to say, do, or bring up, or any kind of weird, odd kind of reference point that he might pull on. And so any episode with him can go in a million different directions, as anyone can, admittedly. But we've done this for so long that it says something that he's been my co-host on these episodes for probably 7 out of the 12 episodes that we've done, maybe 8 or 9, I'm not sure. But even after that time and after our long friendship, I still find him just as unpredictable in the best way possible. And I think this episode really kind of exemplified that in quite a few ways. And I think some of the conversations that we got down to and some of the verdicts that we both reached from each of the suggestions, I think surprised us both. And I think what surprised me more than anything is the fact that even after a year and a half break, we got back in there, and maybe there was a bit of rust to start off with, right at the beginning of the recording, but as soon as we got in there on the main part that you'll see for the majority of the video, it was like we never left. At least in my head, it was like we just recorded that last week. So to me, that really stood testament to just how well I think the two of us work as a unit. And so you can definitely look forward to at least a couple more episodes with him coming in the near future, as well as a couple guest spots, but I'm getting ahead of myself. So please sit back and enjoy episode 12 of the Not So Forensic Record Society, once again featuring Gallagher. So, hello everybody, and welcome back to meeting number 12 of the Not So Forensic Record Society. I've figured out that this is probably the type of content that not only is easier to do, given my circumstances, but also something that I enjoy doing, and something that is long overdue, I think. Over a year in the making, I figured out today. I have my good friend Mr. Gallagher in the hot seat once again, ready to get into the audiological arena and do some battling.
It's me, everyone. I'm still alive,
Yes.
contrary to my upload schedule and my appearances on this channel. We're back to listen to some funky beats
Indeed,
and talk
indeed.
shit about them.
So, obviously, with this being a year in the making, we've had a long, long time to plan this. So, I, for one, am incredibly excited as to what we've got in store, and I believe it is you up first, my friend.
Yeah, and for reference for everyone, we actually did record this episode probably about a year ago. We did the first bit, but I got lazy and didn't listen to anything. And I've basically completely scrapped my old playlist. So you did see my old playlist, and I'm
Yeah.
just gonna say that there are 2 songs from that on this new one.
Okay.
But all of and they're back to back. It's not
Ah,
the
right.
first one, so it's not exactly relevant right now. But there
Okay.
are most of them are new picks. And speaking of new picks, because I've made a consistent effort not to show you any of these guys' music, and I can't imagine that you've heard them before. But the first song is "Whores and Hounds" by the Irish Rovers from 2012's Drunken Sailor. Went through a little phase, like you do, kind of built up, and we'll get into this earlier. Pirates.
Yeah.
Don't know if you've heard of them, but they're kind of cool. Probably should have had a pirate little profile picture, but we can't change that now. So when you get pirates, what do? You go sea shanties. That's the next music. Don't have any shanties on here, but listen to some shanty bands. A bit of the Longest Johns, some good music, and then you just get to fucking straight up. Maybe you'll be experimental and you'll have some little pirate metal. You listen to a bit of pirate metal, which I have shown you before, but then you just get straight up into Irish folk music. The Irish Rovers are the main band that I listen to for this, and I think they're fucking awesome. I literally could have given you so many songs from the Irish Rovers, but one that I have been obsessed with most recently is this one. It's high energy, it's fun. I love it. My dream is to one day be in an Irish pub and be pissed and hear Irish Rovers play. Drunken Sailor was like the gateway drug because I think I just looked up on Spotify like pirate songs, like sailing songs.
Yeah,
And it was
yeah.
Drunken Sailor from Assassin's Creed, and then them, and then it's just fucking. It's gotten out of hand, quite frankly.
Just like drugs, if you enjoy it, you enjoy it. No, I can't
Yeah.
say that in good conscience.
Crystal meth, love it. So my second one is, and this is one of the returning ones. This is "Never Going Home" by Vigilant from their
Oh,
2018 album V. The only reason that I know this song even exists is because one time when I was on holiday and I was really bored and looking for new music, you know that thing, Spotify playlists, and it's like add to this playlist.
oh yeah,
I
yeah,
think it's
yeah.
a relatively new thing they've started doing. And there was this song. I don't know anything about Vigilant. I've not listened to any of their other songs, but this is really fucking good. It's a funky beat. It's like a Year Six disco song that's never been played at a
Yes.
Year Six disco.
Let's go.
Song
Sorry.
number 3 is another song that is the only song from this artist that I listened to, which is "The Other Side of Paradise" by Glass Animals from
Oh,
How to Be a Human Being from 2016. I got
oh,
this song recommended to me, and it is funky as fuck. It's not like a constant repeat listen to song, but it's a
yeah.
jam, and I thought I'd just put it because I don't know, I don't really have a lot of stuff that's kind of like that. Switching up from that actually to a little more of like a low key, not necessarily depressing, but like slow going song is "Canter" by Jerry Cinnamon, from 2020's The Bonnie.
Oh,
You'll know him. Our mate Kale.
oh
I
yeah.
think I was just the most recent time I was over at his. I think he just played this, and I was like, "Oh, this sounds nice." I didn't even properly listen to it all. I've only recently like just sat down and listened to it, and
Yeah.
I just think it's quite nice sounding, and I thought it's unique, so I might as well give you it.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. I mean, I've heard a handful of Jerry Cinnamon tracks in the past. I don't think this one. And, I've enjoyed what I've heard. It kind of has that, it's kind of like a folky, rocky, indie-ish kind of mix. It's
Mhm.
good,
So my
shall I
next
say?
one is a Jack Shingering pick.
Oh,
We've
very
always
nice.
got to have these. But now that he doesn't listen to shit music anymore, instead of being a really terrible modern rap track, this is "If I Could Fly" by Halloween from The Dark Ride
Oh,
from
yes.
2000. So I'm pretty sure Halloween are power metal.
Them, along with Sabaton, Dragon Force, and somebody else, are classified as like the big four of power metal or something.
Halloween are awesome. And this is I don't know if I would say if this was my favorite track from them, but this is just like it's a really good one, and the chorus is amazing. The
Yeah.
vocals are really good. They've got a lot of really top tracks, but I thought this would be, if you've not heard anything from them, taking a departure from the power metal, we've got "In the Morning" by Razorlight, the album Razorlight from 2006. Maybe it was their first one, I'm not too sure. I think I Shazammed this at a random place somewhere. Thought I'd give you it though, because it's pretty cool. And I don't really know anything about them, so I thought it was a bit interesting. So jumping from pretty indie band to someone super fucking mainstream, Michael Jackson, a song that I think I got the same way as Vigilant by just looking at Spotify requests, and it's "Black or White" from Dangerous. Really good song. Might actually be my favorite Michael Jackson song that I've listened to. I've got like all like the like big ones like Smooth Criminal, like
Yeah.
Thriller on my playlist, but it's pretty good. I think it's pretty underrated. So do you know what, you get in 10 and there's nothing you can do about it.
Oh,
I know it's 9, but fuck it, because I guess I'm illiterate and can't count. And I don't really. I've already said I probably would have removed the Razorlight one, but I already said it. So no take backs. That's how we play this game, baby. Seventh song, Phil fucking Collins. Let's go, baby. Dancing to the Light from 1996. Phil Collins is fucking awesome. At the same time that I've had a hyper obsession with Irish music, I've also had a hyper obsession with Phil Collins music. Phil Collins is fucking awesome. And one night when I was doing chores or some shit, I was listening to the This is Phil Collins Spotify playlist. Heard this song, pretty fucking good. Heard some like loads of Phil Collins songs that I'd never even heard before, and this is my favorite of those lot. I think it's the No Tickets Required live show version from the 80s. That performance of In the Air Tonight is one of the most satisfying musical experiences ever. Coming back to Ailstorm, this is an Ailstorm song that you've probably never heard of.
Oh yeah,
The one I remember, the one I showed you was Pirate Party Time, as they like to
yes,
call it on the streets. That is probably still my favorite Ailstorm song. We've already heard that. So
right,
I'm
yeah.
gonna give you the close second, which is Treasure Chest Party Quest from 2020's Curse of the Crystal Coconut.
Is that
This is
seriously an album title?
that is actually the name, Curse of the Crystal Coconut.
I can already see that this has some absolutely killer album art. Hang on a minute. I've
They
got
actually stole the Donkey Kong cartoon Crystal Coconut for their Pirate Metal album. But yeah, that's a fun Hailstorm song, so I threw it in. And speaking of throwing it in, bit of a dark horse. So we've got a song from the legendary Ashley Tisdale. Now, for those of you who are not cultured, you don't know who Ashley Tisdale is, you might not remember her from such things as Sharpay in the High School
yes.
Musical franchise, and I can't the shopkeeper woman, kiosk girl from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Disney Channel star actor is what I'm saying. If she was in anything else, I don't know. If she's in any other Disney Channel thing, but they're the two that I know she was 100% in.
Have you ever seen the Sharpay spin-off film? What's it fucking called?
I think it's called like Sharpay's Fabulous Fucking Journey or some shit like that.
Yeah.
I think that is actually the real title. No, but I plan to, but I'm not mentally prepared for that yet. But so Disney Channel star, we know what happens with Disney Channel stars. They become train wrecks, and they go off the fucking rails. And in the course of the fucking rails, they usually have a really bad music career. Mainly singles. She's done a lot of singles over the years since like since like 2006 seems to be when she started doing them. She's done some EPs, so she's kind of like dipped her toes into music. I hadn't even told you what I've done yet. I hadn't even told you which one you've got. When I was listening to some of her music, there were her three newest. Oh no, she has actually done albums. I'm a fucking idiot. Okay, so she's made three, but mainly she's done singles and EPs and shit. But I've listened to the three. I'm rambling. I've listened to the three newest songs that she's done, which were Lemons, Voices in My Head, and the one that I'm giving you, Love Me and Let Me Go. I think all
right.
of these are actually pretty decent, but I think Love Me and Let Me Go is possibly the best one. But I'm positive that Ashley Tisdale is still keeping up the good musical talent that she showcased in Disney.
I must admit, I was very intrigued by the prospect of reviewing a song called Lemons, but I think that'll probably have to wait.
Oh, well, that we'll get into Lemons in the future. Coming 2027 when we make the Not So Forensic Society 13. And there was one thing, and I need to put it in this one so that you remember, because otherwise I'm gonna not tell you, and then I'm gonna forget, and then you're gonna forget. But you have listened. Am I right, or am I right in saying that you have listened to Dove Cameron's newer music?
I have listened to a couple of tracks.
So I've listened to one track, the one where she's like playing piano in a fucking volcano. And that was the
I
shit.
missed this. What? Hang
It's
on.
some like music video. It's fucking trash. It's actually so. It is such a bad song.
I've got to look this shit up. Hang on a minute.
But
What?
I would like.
What?
I think it's for like the newest bits of music that she's done, and like we all
Uh,
know Dove Cameron bad music. We're all disappointed. But I would like to know if this Ashley Tisdale music is better than Dove Cameron's, in your opinion. When we get to it, I think it's infinitely better. I think Dove Cameron needs to take some notes. Stop making shit music because I can't take it anymore. You're better than this, and you know you are. Come on now.
that's a good mix. I'm excited for that. That's like you've got all sides of the musical spectrum in there. Some heavy, some poppy, funky, bit of everything in there. Yeah, sounds great. I'm actually genuinely really looking forward to that. Right, so with mine, I'll say this, right? I wouldn't bet my YouTube channel password on it or anything, but I would say that this is maybe the best one. And I know I've said that for like the past three or four, but I genuinely think that this might be the best one. Reason being, I deduce that you could probably reasonably dance to every single one of these tracks. And so that
Okay.
may lead to success, although that is yet to be seen. So, first one that we have is actually a brand new song from the year of our Lord
Oh.
2024. It's by a guy called Masterpiece called Start Me Up from his upcoming album How to Make a Masterpiece, coming out on the 1st of March, which has already definitely happened by the time this comes out.
Oh yeah,
And
this is late October. Shout out, happy Halloween, everyone.
but I came across Masterpiece because he featured on a Streets track, I think in 2022, and I really liked what he brought to that. And then when I went to see the Streets in October, or was it November, he was one of the support acts, and I really, really liked his stuff. It was like kind of dance, pop, hip hop fusion. He's like a rapper, but mostly sings. So he's kind of got the general sound of a rapper, but with like a much more melodic side to him. But he's also kind of
Yeah.
got like a British indie festival pop thing going on. It's really, really cool. I think you'll really
Alright.
get something out of this. And then the second track, I will say, I think maybe two of these have survived from the original iteration and the rest have been changed around. This is one of the remainers. So it's Two Door Cinema Club with What You Know from 2010 from the album Tourist History, which to me is just a song
Okay.
that typifies UK festival culture, like the kind of really danceable beat, the catchy guitar lines, the vocals. Like you hear this song, and then instantly what comes into my head is those like best of Glastonbury montages where like everybody's jumping around and with like flags everywhere and shit. It's just like a
Yeah.
real feel good, lively track that I think you'll really enjoy.
I'm a hermit, so I can't really visualize like Glastonbury festival music. So I am just perplexed but intrigued.
Yeah, I mean, I've used the kind of adjectival phrase festival music a few times, and even I don't really know what it means, but I have a kind of abstract sense of what I think I mean in my own head. So that might not be the best descriptor, but anyway, we move on. The next track is by far the oldest one in this entire batch, in that it's from 1982 by a band called D Train, and it's called You're the One for Me from the album You're the One for Me, which is, I think, just an absolute fucking funky bop jam. It's incredible. It's got that kind of, chic, like good times kind of vibe to it. Just like really makes you just want to jump up and boogie down, do some proper like John Travolta Saturday Night Fever moves. Like it's just an absolute bop. The electric piano solo is absolutely chef's kiss. Like it's incredible. I think it was even interpolated in a Prodigy track at one point, which is maybe how I came across it, is because it
Yeah.
was on one of those like who did the Prodigy sample lists, and I thought the original track itself was just brilliant. Okay, number four is another fairly recent one. It's from 2021 and it's from an artist I absolutely love called Tierra Whack, and the song is Body of Water from her EP Pop question mark, which is in 2021, Tierra Whack came out with these kind of genre exercise EPs. So she did one called Rap question mark, one called R&B question mark, and then Pop question mark, obviously. And this is the lead track from that EP, and I think it's fantastic. It's got kind of an Outcast Hey Ya vibe going on. It's like,
what, what does that mean?
well, have you ever heard the song Hey Ya
No,
by Outkast?
I don't think so.
Oh, well, it sounds a bit like that, but like the beats are really danceable, the keyboards are really colourful. Tierra's on top form as she always is, vocally and lyrically. There's some really clever wordplay in there. Like I think Tierra Whack's also got a new album coming out 15th of March, Worldwide Whack. Hell yes, I'll be looking out for that. But I think this is I think this might be my favorite Tierra Whack track as of right now. Number 5 is Rudimental with Feel the Love featuring John Newman from their 2013 album Home. You might know John Newman from that song Love Me Again. It's in all the Vodafone adverts and the FIFA games and shit.
Yeah,
But before he did that track, he was making the rounds as like a feature artist on a lot of like dance tracks. So he did a track with Calvin Harris, I think, as well. And there was kind of
yeah.
a trend in the early 2010s in the UK of like drum and bass crossover pop hits. And to me, this is the best one. Like I think John's vocals do a great job. The beats are really lively. It's just like a really feel good. This is like an early morning like car journey, build your energy up kind of track.
Mm.
Just like really feel good, really bright, really happy. Even the dubstep wubs haven't aged terribly looking back at it.
Okay.
So, you've got plenty to look forward to. You might have actually heard this. It might be one of those things where you put it on and you go, oh, I have heard this. In which case,
I
hopefully you enjoyed it. I don't know.
remember hearing it, but this is the first song where I know both the people because I know Rudimental
Yeah.
mainly from these days with Macklemore and Jess Glynn and like five fucking other people.
Oh, yeah, they did that, didn't they?
And I imagine they did the music for that
Yeah, yeah.
because they had other people to sing on it. So I think I've got a decent idea of what I could be expecting.
People might just, I think I said this to Stu, like people might think I hate pop music. No, 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 sir, because this is some good pop music, let me tell you that. 6, I think right now, is Electric, I think they're called Electric Six, funnily enough, with their song Dance Commander off of the album Fire from 2003. And you might know these guys because they are the masterminds behind the song Danger High
I was just
Voltage.
I was just gonna say, is it the fucking Danger High Voltage people?
But I obviously thought that you may have heard Danger High Voltage before. So what I
Yeah.
did was I went on the album that Danger High Voltage is from and went to see if there were any other tracks that you might have enjoyed. And the first one on the album is called Dance Commander,
Yeah.
and I think it's fantastic. Really pump up, full of energy, but also kind of funny and irreverent and sort of quirky at the same time. It's just like it appeals to me for all the reasons that Electric Six would appeal to me, and like hopefully it'll appeal to you as well. This is probably that one of the tracks where within 10 seconds I was like, it's going on. Like there's no debate here.
Yeah.
Number 7 is a track, another new one from last year, 2023, Joy Anonymous with Now That It's Over from their album Cult Classics. Funnily enough, they also supported the Streets when I went to go and see them. And basically, it was like these two guys were like DJing, and I was like enjoying it for the most part. And the guy who does the vocals on this song, he'd kind of done some like occasional vocals, but not like proper ones, kind of like ooh yeah, like they kind of disembodied, just like random vowels kind of thing
Mm.
going on. But then they ended with this song, and he started out with the vocals that you'll hear in the track, and I was like, hang on, where the bloody hell did he keep this? This is amazing. And then the beat kicked in, and I was just like absolutely loving it. I was dancing my head off, I tell you. It was just
Oh,
an
okay.
absolute, it was just such a fun time. Like it's, this is a real like if you want to end a party on a bang, you put this song on
Mm,
and it's like it's one of them kind of warm blanket type tracks to send you off into the night in good spirits. So
okay.
hopefully you will enjoy that. Number 8 is Sam Fender with Get You Down from his 2021 album 17 Going Under. I must admit, my own kind of opinion of Sam Fender up until a certain point was basically like it's the type of rock music that Radio 1 can play to say that they play rock music, but also like it's indie enough and rock enough to give them credibility, but it also
Oh,
seems like it's kind of poppy enough for them to say, "Hey guys, we play rock music too." So I didn't really enjoy a lot of Sam Fender's stuff that I'd heard up until then because it just felt like very bland and generic indie. But I think I was just in the car one day and this came on and I was like, "Hold the phone, boys! What is this? We've got a good Sam Fender song on our hands."
that is actually pretty funny because I had the exact same experience with Homesick, which features him. It's by Noah Khan. It was literally on Radio 1. Metaphor about Radio 1 wasn't just hyperbole, it's pretty true. But I heard that and I was like, yeah, this is a pretty good song.
And then the final one is Visions by Pendulum from their
Uh,
2008 In Silico album. Pendulum, Australian drum and bass outfit. And to me, this track is, to me, I got into Pendulum. I can't remember how. I think it was because you showed me a track of theirs called Through the Loop. I
yeah.
kind of do this thing where if I get into a band, I download their whole back catalogue and I got to In Silico, and that was kind of where they were forming their sound of like that mix of drum and bass and like arena rock. And then this is the track on the album that like absolutely sold me on Pendulum as a band. I was like, hell
Mm.
yes, this
I
is this is incredible. And I think there's like a big high energy, like raucous, like it's not heavy like screaming like blah, but it's like it's got enough punch and enough energy to be like a really cool ending tableau, like a send off to the playlist, if you like. There's some
mm.
fantastic vocoders on it, great guitars, great beats, just all round an absolute banger. From all sides, this is going to be a very interesting one because I'm clearly very confident, kind of sheepishly confident, maybe, if that's even a phrase, but I'm also very much looking forward to all of yours because, like I said, there's such a wide, broad range of stuff that,
Mm.
anything could happen really. So, what we'll do, as we normally do, is we'll give these a listen, write down some notes, and then we'll reconvene at a later date. Although in video land, that'll be like 15 seconds, and then
Yeah.
we will
Real
chat some
world, it will
shit.
be 14 years.
Yeah, see you when I'm 40 and I've got kids and a mortgage.
That's when we'll continue this video.
But yeah, so we'll make some notes and then reconvene, chat some shit, have a laugh, and then go home.
Yeah,
Because
boy.
that's how this series works. You should know this by now. It's always good fun though. So we will cut to that now. So hello everybody and welcome to the fun bit where we give our opinions on the various songs designated to us by the other person. Gallagher is here again, ready to enter the Thunderdome, as it were. And your first recommendation for me, sir,
Mm,
was the Irish Rovers with Whores and Hounds. I'll get this out of the way. Is it something that I would go out of my way to listen to every day? No. But,
bro.
and this is a big but, I'll say this. You came into this with the thing of, I'm going to give you some really good Irish folk music. Do I think you did that? Yes, because I really like this actually. Because I thought there was a lot to enjoy here. Because, like, so for instance, the guitars and the strings in the intro, they do sound pretty decent, and as well as that, I must say I do love a good harmonica, so bonus points there. I was maybe expecting it to be a bit more raw sounding for some reason. I don't quite know why, but not to say that it being a bit more high gloss is necessarily a bad thing because it still sounds nice to my ears. And you know, as far as the meat of the track is concerned, quote unquote, it just does its job really, really well. Like a really nice, lively groove, you know, really danceable kind of thing going on. Like some really cool, merry sounding fiddles and flutes throughout it. You know, the guitars, the way they're like really quickly strummed as well and like quite frenetic, that works really nicely. It has this really just like absolutely just like infectiously kind of joyous vibe about it, which I really enjoy. Like I can imagine an Irish pub in hysterics over this song, tankards of Guinness flying everywhere, and you know people jumping on tables and shit. It would be a scene and a half. Vocally, it's like it's much the same, really. Like plenty of personality coming through. Obviously, it seems like the vocalist is playing somewhat of a character, if you like. Maybe not a character, but like a caricature of a type of person, if you like, you know, the sort of swashbuckling pirate, I guess, which is, you know, I think he does it very well. And I think the gang chorus has like a really nice sort of infectious feel to it. Again, you know, that kind of Irish folk sing along thing. It just works fantastically. And not to mention that some of the lyrics at times are both kind of endearing at various points, but also pretty funny at various points as well, just because of the kind of lifestyle and the imagery that it's putting across. Like, again, it's not something I'd choose to listen to every day just because it's not really a genre that I'm familiar with. But, you know, in terms of your mission of like, here's some really good Irish folk, you absolutely succeeded. And I'll say this as well. I don't know how many of you watching this did country dancing at school, but I always thought it was shit. But I would say that if they put this on, it would make it a hell of a lot more exciting. Like I
Hmm.
might have actually wanted to get up and do some like Irish dancing.
Yeah, this would be a great thing to country dance to. I would just
That
like to
kind
say
of
to all the audience watching, and when you hear the little snippet uh, after this is a song that I have, would, and will uh, continue to listen to on a daily basis. Since I've been exploring the Irish Rovers, there are days where that they have been the majority of what I've listened to. I think their music's just so good, but it's good that you enjoyed it.
I mean, given that comment, I'm excited to see what your Spotify Wraps looks like come December.
I'm gonna double check. I can't remember if they were. Yeah, they just slipped into the number 5 last year, but they're good at number 1. All right, so the first one that you gave me was "Start You Up" by Masterpiece. Pretty good song, you know, generally overall. Listening to this, I thought that it's got the sound of something that I think it would be better to listen to probably in a club at like a party, like over a sound system, than listening to at home. This probably wouldn't be something I listen to like on the regular. But, you know, it had a very funky opening. Thought the beat was nice. The guy who was singing the vocals, he sounded a bit fucking silly. So that kind of like, you know, it got better as it went on. The lyrics in the verses were all right. You know, they were pretty good. The song kind of grew on me as it went on. I didn't really think that I liked it too much, but I felt that it was pretty good. Like by the end, ended pretty
Well,
suddenly though, which I didn't really like. It just kind of ended in the next song. But yeah, overall, it was it was pretty good.
I got to admit that was one of the ones where I was kind of like iffy on, will he like this, will he not? But I'm glad that
Hmm.
you overall enjoyed it, so that's good. Your next one was Not Going Home by Vigilant, right? From what you said, it definitely does fit into that kind of mid 2010s dance pop kind of year six disco vibe. So, you know, for that I can appreciate it because a lot of that stuff in retrospect, I do kind of have a bit of an affinity for, like a bit of a soft spot for. Like as much as I might not have been like bumping it when I was like at the age when it was around, like I do bump some Flow Rider occasionally, you know, and stuff like that. So stuff like this in general I'll always have kind of a soft spot for. But I think overall it does a very good job at kind of being in that sound. Like the bright melodies from the guitars and the keys work decently well, I think. And that kind of classic vocal chop chorus where they kind of like manipulate the vocals as like almost like a keyboard over the drop. That's like a very classic thing to do, and I think they do it in quite an effective way where it's not too tacky. I think the beat sounds pretty good as well, because what you don't want with a track like this is that, like, you know, you've got a load of like really shiny keyboards and then the beat just sounds like really limp. But I think they did a pretty good job on the production side of like giving it some depth and like some heft, which is good. And I'd say that both vocalists have a pretty good performance overall, but I'd say that it's definitely the kind of group pre-chorus with the harmonies that I think is where they really shine. Like, they're decent on their own, but I think it definitely works best when they kind of come together and you can sort of hear them full and like stacked up. I'd say the lyrics are like fairly standard kind of escapist partying stuff, but then again, given the type of track that it is, I wasn't really expecting much else. So that's kind of like a non-criticism, if anything. Like, you know, it's like they're not Shakespeare, but then, you know, you shouldn't go into a track like this expecting like super deep Kendrick Lamar level lyricism. Do you know what I mean? I'd say as well, my only couple of real criticisms, to be honest, is that maybe I would have liked a more prominent bridge or some variation, because it does just kind of go verse, chorus, verse, chorus, verse, chorus, end. I would
Mm.
maybe have liked something where maybe it switches up a little bit, like, you know, maybe they bring a different melody in or do something different with the beat or something like that. But so, you know, a bit of variation maybe wouldn't have gone amiss. And I think because this track definitely does again fit in that kind of 2010s dance pop style. I just kind of it's one of those things where I listen to it and I go like, that was cool. It makes me want to go and listen to Flow Rider now. You know, it doesn't quite have that effect of, oh, that's great, let me check out their other stuff. It's more kind of like, oh, you know, that was good. It makes me want to go back to the other stuff in the genre that is maybe more well established or that I think is just a little bit better. Although that said, it's definitely more enjoyable than like some of the tackier stuff in that same genre, like some of Pitbull's more recent stuff where he like samples Toto and just raps over it for no reason. Like, you know, there's definitely, you could definitely do a hell of a lot worse. So I actually quite enjoyed this one as well. I thought it was good.
I agree about the bridge. Like, it does. I kind of think it's all right because I like the chorus and I like the verses. But yeah, it does just kind of go from the chorus and then immediately into from the verses just immediately into the chorus. I can't even remember if it changes it up. But I think I would actually say about the making you want to listen to other Year Six disco music is that I think that it's different enough. Because I'm gonna assert my authority as pretty much at this point an unironic fan of like Flow Rider and Pitbull. I'm basically an
Yeah, yeah.
unironic Pitbull fan at this point, but I think their music is both. It's pretty much the similar theme, especially Pitbull's. A lot of Pitbull's songs is just party music, basically.
Yeah.
But I think his sound is different enough to this song where listening to Pitbull is not directly transferable to listening to this. So I and this is probably just a personal thing, but I can listen to Never Going Home, and that's like a fully satisfying thing.
I guess that Pitbull kind of verges a bit more into hip hop than dance, but there definitely is like some crossover there. But I'd say I definitely prefer it to like some of the really bad like Black Eyed Peas stuff. Not that all the Black Eyed Peas stuff is bad, but like the really bad like terrible sample flip stuff. This like is leaps and bounds above that.
Hmm.
So if you're looking for something in this style, you could probably do better. Yeah, like classic Flow Rider stuff maybe, but there are just like the vast majority of the time you're probably going to come across worse.
All right, so your second song was What You Know by Two Door Cinema Club. So this song sounded pretty flipping danceable. I did dance to it because I was at work while I was listening to it. Like, the vocals start was super funky, super upbeat. Yeah, like the vocals, like the beat pretty much all the way through it. The only thing is that it was kind of repetitive. It was good, but it just did the same thing pretty much all the way through. And I don't know if this would also be a song that's maybe, that would maybe be better in a club where you're not really paying attention to like how long the music is. I wouldn't even say that it feels too long, which
Yeah.
is a thing that I thought while I was writing notes about a lot of these songs. Like, is it too long? I don't really think it was too long. It just didn't change at any point, but I still enjoyed it.
I believe your next one was The Other Side of Paradise by Glass
Yeah.
Animals. Looking at my notes here. And this track, honestly, it's another one that I can say I liked. But it's not all perfect, but it is very interesting. It's interesting because there's a lot of things about it that I think work, but I think in some other areas, perhaps because they were going for a bit more of an experimental sound with it, it kind of goes a little bit wrong. So I think the quite dramatic blasts of like synthesizers throughout the track, they have quite a cool effect. You know how they kind of come in and they're like,
Yeah.
"Boom, boom." Like, I think that has a really cool kind
Mm.
of like,
Yeah,
dramatic,
that's
like
sick.
whoa, like a rush of it, like a rush
Es-
effect, which I
Especially
think
at the
is cool.
start.
The way they kind of play with like Foley sounds in the beat, like glass bottles and various other little kind of textural things in the beat helps to definitely keep the interest up. So you're kind of listening to it and being like, oh, those are like some interesting sounds. I wasn't expecting that. And then I think the bass doesn't pair badly either with the drums. Like I maybe wish the bass was a little bit more present mix wise, but I think in terms of the kind of locking down the rhythm, it does a pretty good job. And I'd say vocally, it's like a fairly dramatic performance throughout the whole thing that I think fits it well because again, a lot of the instrumental is going for that quite dramatic sound. I mean, I
Mm.
maybe wish that, just in my opinion, I maybe wish that some of the melodies that he was singing were maybe like a bit stickier. Like the chorus one does kind of stick in my head, but it's not like that absolute earworm that I'm kind of, if I'm gonna listen to some pop music, like an earworm chorus is kind of what I'm looking for. And there was like a degree of that, but probably not as much as I would have liked. Although,
Mm.
the chorus isn't bad by any measure either. And the lyrics kind of seeming to be, that tale of like chasing the Hollywood dream, the American dream, like supercars and models and money and all that kind of thing. And like that kind of cautionary tale. It's like a fairly tried and true topic in like pop music or just like music in general. Like my mind goes back to songs like System of a Down, Lost in Hollywood, that kind of general sentiment. But I'd say that it does it fairly well. Like it definitely could have been a lot cringier and a lot more like trying to be fake deep. But I feel like it just kind of rides that line enough to where you get what it's saying, but it's not like bashing you over the head with it. My only like main gripes with it really is that like some of the weirder sound effects, like the sort of dog barks or the weird vocal effects, where it's like go 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 go, or like some of the plinkier sort of sour sounding synth lead where it's like like the sort of high pitched weird sort of like squelchy ones. I don't know. I mean, some of them just sound a bit odd, and so when you put them in the context of the track, it's like it takes something that like would be pretty kind of artsy and dramatic and poppy, and just kind of makes it a bit odd and distracting. Like, you're trying to get into the track, and then you're sort of there going, "Where the fuck is there a dog noise just like going on in the background?" I don't quite understand it. And overall, for like a kind of artsy, dramatic pop track, it was not bad at all.
All right, I'm not even gonna lie. Like the thing about the sound effects, I literally don't even remember that at all. So I don't know if I'm just listening to the track and like not properly listening to it.
I think the comedian Dave Gorman kind of coined it is when you give like a child like a coloring book and they color it into like a decent degree and then you go like, okay, that looks cool, but then they just keep coloring in and they just make it look a bit worse. That's
Hmm.
kind of how I feel about this song. It's like they had something good, but then they just like kind of keep adding stuff and it's like, okay, okay, you can stop now.
So your third track was "You're the One for Me" by D Train, And I
Yes.
think this was definitely one of my favorites in the playlist.
Epic.
I think I might put it second. Opening was sick. It was a completely massive whiplash from the last song, like hearing it right after that one. But the piano was funky as fuck. The whole song, super funky. Really nice vocals. Definitely a danceable song. It stays the same for it felt quite long. It had changed so much up until like right near the end, like everything else, which was just really good and really enjoyable. And it
Awesome.
honestly has me interested in listening to more D-Train music.
Well,
So
I
that's
can tell you
pretty
right
cool.
now, I haven't, so I probably should as well. I thought that the electronic kind of piano solo at like 3.5 minutes or so, I thought that that was cool. I don't know what you thought about that.
Thought it was cool, but that was like a good change of pace. I liked that.
Ah, yeah, Canter by Jerry Cinnamon, which
Yeah,
is another one I enjoyed. I really, really
that's
liked this.
cool.
So there was some really kind of well-produced acoustic guitar playing, some nice rootsy progressions, and again, the production of it was like raw enough to where like the guitar sounded like sort of cool and folksy and that kind of thing. But the actual playing of it, like the melodies, were also really good. And then when the drums come in, they manage to kind of add that sense of momentum that you want on a track like this without kind of distracting from the guitars, which on tracks like this that I've heard in the past is a very easy trap to fall into, like where the guitars start out sounding really good and then the drum beat comes in and it's just like way too bombastic or like way too in your face. But
Mm.
I feel like the way that this track uses the drums is a lot more kind of pared back, and so it's like it's enough for you to be like, hey, there's a drum beat happening now, but also kind of like not so much to where it's taking the attention away from the guitars. I think as far as like vocals and lyrics go, I just think Jerry is fantastic on this track. Like he has some great, like really anthemic, catchy melodies on here. His performance is brilliant, really emotive, really kind of dynamic. And as well as that, I do really appreciate actually him just like embracing his accent because it adds like so much personality. Like there are other bands from Scotland where like maybe you can kind of tell that they're Scottish a little bit if you like squint really hard. He just kind of like fully owns it, and so it gives the track so much more character and so much more kind of authenticity, which I think is really cool. And I think the lyrics with that kind of, inspirational sort of take life by the horns while you can kind of approach, but also doing it with a slight dose of humor, obviously, with lyrics like it could be a canter if you're a wee bit less of a wanker. It's like it's doing that kind of motivational thing, but also kind of injecting some humor in there as well to kind of balance it out. So
Mm.
I basically had zero complaints about this song. I thought it was really
Nice.
enjoyable.
And the same cannot be said for your next song, Body of Water, by who the fuck made this song? Tierra Whack. What the
Oh
fuck was
no.
this song even?
Oh
What the fuck
no.
were the vocals? Not really great. The only time I thought the rapping was even engaging was when it got a bit faster, like part of the way through. The choruses were a
Oh,
bit better than the verses, like in terms of like vocals. They still weren't quite good. Not really a danceable song. This is not sold me at all on
oh
Tierra Whack.
no.
Uh,
Oh no. I had such high hopes as well, and they've just gone down the bin. Oh dear.
Don't try to fight it. I know you like it. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Taking over like a virus and start a riot.
Ah, yes, this will be a bit of a lighter note. If I Could Fly, Halloween. We're on a positive streak here because this is one that mostly I liked. I mean, it's definitely one of the better, kind of less tacky power metal tracks that I've heard outside of like Sabaton for a multitude of reasons. The production, for one, is really solid, like really crisp, really clean. You know, the groove is pretty stomping and headbanging as well, which is cool. Like they have again that nice heft to them coming from the drums, and the riffs are fairly gnarly as well by power metal standards. Because I feel like a lot of power metal bands that I've heard anyway, it's like they are quite fast and they are quite fiery and stuff, but they kind of seem to somewhat forget like the heavy bit of heavy metal. But the guitar riffs on this one being a bit darker and being a bit more kind of like, you know, kind of gritted teeth, sort of like, I think it does give the track like some more of that heft that I really like. The solo was pretty wicked as well. I thought that the guitarist did a really good job on the solo as well. And I'd say while the kind of overly dramatic, kind of operatic style of vocals that are kind of a staple in power metal aren't really my thing, I'd say this is definitely an instance of it being used palpably better than where I've heard it in the past for a vast majority of the time. There were times like maybe in the bridge where I felt like it kind of went a bit overboard, but I think mostly it kind of rides that line between being melodic and being dramatic, but not sounding completely ridiculous. My main criticism, though, I did have one. The lyrics, I mean, they're just kind of like, you know, they seem like quite generic, like self-discovery type stuff, which is, you know, it's fine, kind of a staple thing in power metal. Again, it's kind of like a non-point. But I've always said to people that I've chatted to that you have to be very careful specifically with like grand piano in metal, because I'd say that organs can be a bit of a tricky one as well. But with grand piano, because it's got such kind of a sharp, bright sound, you really kind of have to be careful with how you use it, I think, because it can end up sounding a bit distracting. And I'd say because this one sounds so glossed up, it can end up kind of taking away from some of the riffs. Because I think the riffs and the drums and the grooves are great, but I feel like having this really kind of bright, glossy piano over the top of it kind of takes away from some of that. Like I get that they wanted like one extra like big main melody at the heart of the track, but I think I might honestly just prefer it without the pianos, to be honest, because I love the riffs as they were. But overall, I was very pleasantly surprised by this because I didn't really know what to expect going into it, but it definitely exceeded whatever expectations I did have.
I think Halloween sound more like Candlemas than Sabaton. They're more that kind of, because Sabaton's not really melodic. I wouldn't personally say the lyrics are a problem, probably because I can't remember much of the ones on the verses. But I think generally the meaning or what they're trying to say kind of falls second to like if they just sound good.
I haven't listened to Candlemas though, so either I should
At,
probably do that as well.
at the gallows end is a
Okay.
good one.
Like a king of the sky, could not tumble nor fall. I would picture it all.
So the next one that you give to me, Feel the Love by Rudimental and John Newman. So I really like the opening of this. Goodbye introduction.
Yeah.
Definitely better than Body of Water, which was a song before this, and shit. Bad song, 0 out of 10.
You know.
I liked it for the start bit before the vocals kind of switched up. I liked it for the most part. It was all right. I was expecting it to change up kind of a little bit sooner, but I liked it when it did, and the vocals got a bit more moodier later on, so that was pretty good. But on the whole, this was a pretty, you know, middle of the road song. Good beat, danceability, probably like I've said for a few of those songs before, like if it was in a club, like you could probably dance to it, but I probably wouldn't outside of it. Just pretty mid song overall.
Really, I thought that would have really been a hit. I mean, maybe the dubstep wubs turn you off a little bit. I don't know.
The dubstep was like weren't that bad. I just thought like it was all right.
Like I said in the introduction, it kind of came at that time where a lot of these kind of tracks were getting very popular. So I remember like Ella Air did one that sounds similar, and there was a couple other ones as well. So maybe in future, if I was ever to kind of try go for something like this again, I might pick one of those instead. Right, so your next one was In the Morning by Razorlight, which you have kind of alluded to already as maybe the one that you were kind of least convinced by. And like I can kind of see why. Like there are some good things about this track, definitely. But like I'd say the production's pretty like clean and pretty snappy for one, you know. It's like definitely that kind of clean, pristine production kind of helps the groove hit a bit more. It helps the guitars pop a bit more as well. Some of the cleaner guitar melodies in the chorus, and particularly the verses, are quite decent because they just kind of have that kind of optimistic, bright, summery vibe going for them, which I quite like from indie music like this. So that was definitely a plus in my book. And I'd say that the vocals throughout are like fairly competent enough, like nothing world altering, but certainly quite pleasant on the ears. And I would say particularly actually the last minute or so with the tempo change and the faster grooves and the kind of more uppity guitars and the chanted choruses, that ending is actually quite a cool way to cap things off because it's quite kind of middle of the road kind of energy wise. And then right near the end, it hits you with this like kind of tempo change and it gets the energy levels kind of shooting up. So I did like how they did that kind of ending off with a bang. I might not be the biggest like indie scholar in the world, but it just seems like pretty generic as far as like British indie goes. Like the majority of the riffs and grooves, like as much as I did like the outro, like a lot of the stuff that they're doing melodically and rhythmically is just like fairly like it's all right. You know, it's not really doing anything special, like it's doing the job. Same with the vocals really, which like while competent, they don't seem like anything like massively special. And neither do the lyrics really, 'cause it's just like we party and then in the morning you'll be hungover and you can't remember anything because you've been on drugs. Woo. You know, it's just kind of like it's the kind of lyrics that might be endearing in a song by a Vigilant or a Flow Rider maybe, but when sung by an indie band, it just feels a bit weird. But I also think that the song, for whatever reason, has like in parts at least. I don't know where this came from, but sometimes I'll get this thing where parts of a song really, really remind me of another song. And it reminds me of that Christmas song, Christmas Rapping by the Waitresses. You know the one that goes like Merry Christmas, do 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 do.
I kind of get in like a bit of the chorus, but I'd have to like re-listen to this song again to. But I think I get what you mean.
If it was on in the background of a party or whatever, or I was like walking around a festival and happened to hear it, like I wouldn't object to it. But like, is it something in terms of indie that I would go and deliberately seek out? Probably not. No.
All I would say is that when I said that this is the one that least interests me, I don't think it's bad by any
Yeah.
means. I think it's quite enjoyable, but it's just I think the one that's least, at least for me, is the least exciting. I'm kind of the opposite because I think that it is good, and this is the sort of kind of thing that I would listen to just on its own. Like if it was done in kind of a more electric-y, like pop sounding way, then it maybe wouldn't sound as good.
In the morning, you know we won't remember a thing. In the morning, you know.
I'm just going to quickly get through Dance Commander because I don't really have a lot to say about it. I like the vocals. I think the guy from Electric Six sings pretty well, so you know it's pretty good. It was shorter than I expected. This one was only about 2 minutes, but I did like it. It sounded pretty danceable, but in terms of, I think I just like how much more dynamic, and it's probably just grown on me more throughout the years. But I think High Voltage is probably, I think that's the better sounding song from Electric Six.
I feel like Dance Commander, especially because it opens the album, I feel like it's kind of meant to be that kind of sharp, short, like kind of, you know, sharp, short blast to kind of get you into it.
If we could dance, it would be awesome, yeah. Let's take the chance. It would be awesome, yeah. Let's start the show.
Right, so your number 7 was Black or White by Michael Jackson featuring LTB. I don't agree with you on the assessment that it's the best Michael Jackson track that at least you've heard, because I think I've definitely heard better. But I will say that I can see why this was so big, because it is just like a pretty good pop song all round, really. I mean, I'll kind of go chronologically through it. I mean, I say all the time that I think sort of non-musical skits are kind of like a waste of time or like a waste of space. And I get that there is music in the like opening skit bit, but what I mean is like if you're gonna have like an interlude on your album, I'd rather have it be like a drum solo or like a keyboard thing, or rather than just like some talking or like some random transition or like some bleepy bloopy nonsense.
I personally disagree with that. I think that in this song, it's really I don't know, because you're probably not going to play that part. So for people that haven't heard Black or White, it's like a kid playing loud music, and then his dad like makes him turn it off, and then he plays louder, weirder shit. And I think that's really fucking endearing.
I mean, what about it? What about it is that you find endearing? Because I just kind of.
I just thought like the little narrative, like that it was so random, and I didn't expect it.
I mean, I guess in my head it's just like if you've got 4 minutes, if you've got a song that's 4 minutes long, I expect to hear 4 minutes of song, not 3 minutes of song with a minute of narrative at the front of it. Michael Jackson just really knows how to craft a pop tune, man. Like the guitars are really bright and really vibrant throughout this. The beats are really danceable and really tight. The bass line's pretty cool as well. And I'd say even the touches of things like acoustic guitars and synth strings that come in at points on the either the choruses or the verses, they are done fairly well. Like they don't sound too tacky, especially given that this was made in the 90s. Like it could have sounded a hell of a lot worse. So I just think that the vast majority of the production on this track has aged not, it's aged really, really well, I think. And just it just sounds really tight, really clean, really pristine, but really funky as well. Michael himself just kind of had a talent for making almost every single part of a track really catchy, like even the verses, which is incredibly difficult to do because it's kind of, I don't want to say it's easy to write a catchy chorus, but it's definitely easier to write a catchy chorus than it is to write catchy verses. But the fact he can do both is like just testament to him for that. Saying what I said about the production earlier, there are some bits of it that I don't think have aged the best. Particularly, I think the bridge bit where he gets a bit more intense, like some of the kind of plucky synth bass sounds and the synth guitars that are on that do kind of sound a bit, Windows 95 kind of, that sort of like early primitive MIDI type thing. I mean, granted, it's not like fall he pep levels of bad because that's just like an abomination against humanity. But it probably doesn't benefit from probably using a more primitive sounding music engine. The lyrics are probably the thing that I kind of raised a bit of an eyebrow at the most. I understand that if you want a really kind of wide reaching anti-racist pop song, that a lot of the imagery is going to have to be quite in your face and quite direct because if you're trying to get a pop song with a message out there, you don't want to make it really obtuse and really kind of pointlessly kind of wanky and overly long. A lot of it is like very on the nose and could be said to be kind of corny. I think Michael does all right. Like I don't think any of Michael's lyrics are particularly bad, but the rap verse from LTB, to me it just kind of rang as like one of those like anti-racist like raps or like PSA like assemblies where they bring like a musician troupe in to like rap at you about like save the environment or whatever. It kind of reminded me of some of them because it just felt like very on the nose and very kind of like again just sort of corny. It's weird as well to me how given how massive Michael Jackson was at this point, he could have had literally fucking anyone rap on this song. Like he could have got fucking Pope Francis to do a verse on this song if he wanted to. Like obviously that's hyperbolic, but like he had so many choices. Like Eric B and Rakim were some of the names that came to mind. Maybe some of the Run DMC guys because they'd already done stuff with Aerosmith. But then the guy that he chose to do it is a guy whose only Michael Jackson credits before this were that he played one guitar and one drum track on a track each on the Bad album. So he played one instrument on 2 tracks on Michael Jackson's previous album. And now he gets a rap feature, which I don't quite understand. I mean, it's still a pretty damn good pop song, all that criticism aside. And, I can see why it was so big, but given that those little criticisms, like some of the tackier sounds in the bridge or kind of the rap verse being a bit corny, like, I think he undoubtedly has better tracks, but it was still good.
With the rap, I think it is really on the nose, but I don't particularly love the rap part, but I just think it's all right. Like it's short enough and it flows instantly back into Michael Jackson, and I'm not really bothered by it. Like it feels like the sort of thing where, I don't know, in like the 2010s, like on like a Maroon 5 song, there might be a bit of like Kendrick Lamar, but on
Oh yeah.
some versions he's in it, and then in some versions that he's not. And it kind of felt like that, except it didn't go on for really long.
So kind of what you're saying is like it's kind of short enough to where if you don't like it, you're kind of able to forget about it, essentially.
Yeah, but I'm kind of ambivalent on it, so I don't mind, and it doesn't make me dislike it by like staying around for too long.
The only thing I'd ask is, do you kind of agree with my point that it's kind of weird who he got to do it? Because I looked at some of the other features on Dangerous, and there are some pretty high profile ones, but a couple of the rap ones, I had to like look them up and be like, who the hell is that? Because like he could have literally got like anyone. Like I'm not saying that he should have like, got fucking Ice Cube or like Easy to start dropping bars on it or whatever. But like, he had like the world at his disposal. And so the choice to me just seems a bit odd.
I'm not really particularly. I think it might be out of place if it was someone like he was probably fucking dead at this point, but like Biggie Small, like if fucking Biggie was on
Yeah.
this track, like if he rapped for 5 seconds, you would think that's pretty fucking weird, because this person that you know and that you might expect to have like a really big verse just comes in with their like iconic style and then just leaves, and it cuts right back into Michael Jackson. So
Yeah.
I don't know what this says, but on Spotify it doesn't even fucking show. I think for basically every track it doesn't even show that there's a feature. So I'm
Yeah.
not surprised that it's basically just someone who worked with Michael Jackson.
Yeah, I mean, I could kind of get it if it was like a big time, like a proper big time session musician. But it's like he played guitar on one track and drums on one track on the Bad album. Like he was a fairly minor session musician. Like, so it just seems, even in the world of like, okay, it's going to be one of Michael Jackson's associates, like it seems like quite a weird choice, but that's like very nitpicky kind of
Yeah, it is
stuff.
pretty weird, but I think he did an all right job.
I don't know. Something tells me that in a hypothetical world, it could have gone down a bit better if it was somebody else. But that's just pure conjecture, really.
My baby on a Saturday night. But if I go with you, you stay what I say. Now I believe in miracles.
All right, so your next one is Joy it's Joy Now That It's Over by Joy Anonymous. So the first note that I put for this is, okay, what the hell is this, lol? But then the end note that I put was my favorite song, probably because it kind of pumped me up. Didn't really know what I was getting to with it, but I would probably say that this was my favorite one on
Awesome.
the fucking weird clown horn intro was weird. But once the guy starts singing, that's when this song really comes into his own. That the main guy that's singing goes fucking hard. The
Yeah,
second guy is less good, but that main guy is sick. This is definitely danceable. And
yeah.
this is
I
a
mean,
sick ass song.
when they did it live, that guy who does the main singing bit, like I said, he was kind of doing like disembodied, kind of like ooh, ah, just kind of like fairly like background stuff. And then he comes out with this, and it's like, whoa, all right, okay,
Yeah.
you know.
The next one, and the D Train song, they all kind of float around in the top.
Your next one is by the great Mr. Phil Collins, and it is
Yes.
Dance into the Light. And I will say, Let me have a look here before I say anything. Yep, this is my favorite. This is my
Let's
favorite
go.
on the playlist. Loved it. Thought it was great, amazing. This was, I mean, I don't know. I knew Phil Collins was great, but this like really blew me away. Like I think the drums and percussion are just like super punchy and textured. Like obviously you've got the main beat going, but then you've got some extra kind of percussive stuff, some shakers going on, which is really nice. Again, gives it that texture. The guitars have that kind of really nice kind of calypso-esque type sound to them, which is fantastic. Really fits in with the whole vibe and the sound palette of the track. And the melodies coming from the trumpets and the organs sound really colourful and vibrant as well. It just sounds so bright and fun and infectious and fantastic. You know, it's just so infectiously happy, and I really, really
Mm.
love the Caribbean influence going throughout this track. Like, it's very difficult to make steel drums not sound like shit. But guess what? Phil Collins made steel drums not sound like shit, which is, I mean, absolute fucking gold medal there, lad. And I'd say that, like, there's even what I might characterize as the very slightest kind of African influence coming through. Maybe in some of the like the vocal melodies, like the British was like, oh, like I can definitely hear some kind of like, you know, sort of like African group choir thing going on there, which I actually really, really enjoy because I love a lot of that kind of traditional sounding African music, like Afrobeat music. So I think that's great. And then vocally, Phil is just on absolute top form, like super catchy, really infectious, really lively, really dynamic, really distinctive, tons of personality. Again, the group parts are done really well as well. I think the way he layers up his vocals with the harmonies sound great. And like, yeah, the lyrics about kind of like, you know, let go of your inhibitions and just kind of have fun and dance around. Like, again, they're not Shakespeare, but you know what? I really don't care because it's supposed to be a bright, vibrant, catchy, fun-loving pop song, and it absolutely fucking nails it. So I have absolutely not a bad word to say about this song at all. Loved it.
I completely agree about the like infectious positivity and the every good thing you said about the vocals. That's literally every song Phil Collins has ever done. So this positive review now counts as consent for the next one, just to be filled with Phil Collins songs.
I'm, I maybe
Not
wouldn't
that
quite
far,
go
but
that
he's
far, but yeah, yeah.
but there's definitely going to be several more Phil Collins, especially now. Like I already had more, but now I realize I've just been introduced to the fact that he had an acting career. So yeah, I watched a big film that he did called Buster, from the 80s, which is about the Great Train Robbery in the 60s, and he plays one of the main guys that did that. And it's got two original songs from him on it and Loco in Acapulco. All right, so your second to last song was "Get You Down" by Sam Fender. Really quite like this song as well. I don't have much to say about it like specifically, but it sounded nice. I really like the guitar. That was probably the standout bit. His vocals were really nice. The lyrics were really good. Don't know how danceable this was though, but that's all right because the song doesn't have to be danceable to be good. Made me think that I could listen to more Sam Fender now that I've liked this song and the song that I mentioned in the first part that he featured in. But yeah, overall pretty good song. Enjoyed this one.
I think this is personally one of Sam Fender's best songs. But what I would
All
say is
right.
that some of the Sam Fender songs that I'm not a big fan of, you actually might be a bigger fan of, possibly. I'm not sure.
Okay.
Because a lot of them are just more kind of straight up kind of catchy radio rock kind of songs. Hypersonic Missiles was the big one that he
Hmm.
came out with. Oh, 17 Going Under. You've definitely heard that one before. And right, so now you get two in a row from me because I get a bonus this time. So the first one is Ailstorm Treasure Chest Party Quest. And I'd say that again, this is a very positive episode because I do quite enjoy this track musically.
Let's
Like I
go.
think the kind of galloping riffs and the grooves that go throughout it sound pretty awesome. Again, the production is really crisp, which for metal for me is quite a big thing because you really want the force and the punch of it to come through, and it really does. And I'd say the implementation of like folkier elements like accordions and fiddles actually coalesce a hell of a lot better than I would have expected. Like, I was kind of expecting like some guitar riffs and then over top you just get some random like diddly 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 dee, just kind of like out of nowhere. But I'd say the
Mm.
way that they kind of blend them together is very, very well done. The breakdown in the bridge, like the halftime, like the heavier breakdown part, is like pretty damn gnarly. Like it's like I heard it and I was like, whoa, this is actually like quite like they like Halloween. They put the heavy in heavy metal with that part. Like
Mm.
I was like, all right. It reminds me a lot of Tenga Cavalry in like a really good way. Like Tenga Cavalry are a band who mix like metal with like Mongolian folk music. So I think you
Ooh.
might actually get a lot out of their stuff. Like, because a lot of it is instrumental. So it's like really like gnarly riffs and grooves with like, sort of like fiddles and stuff. And then occasionally you'll get a guy doing some like throat singing and stuff. It's really wild, but I really like it. And parts of this
Mm.
definitely gave me some like major Tenga Cavalry vibes. I can definitely appreciate the sense of humor of this track as well, because to me, it kind of felt like they were kind of tying in their own notoriety with the kind of pirate character. So the pirate is obviously, the person who likes to go pillaging for money and riches and, trying to steal the booty and all that kind of thing. And so I felt like it was kind of funny that Ailstorm were like, oh, like, because we're popular, like, we're kind of rich now and we can spend all of our money on booze and women and like pie and stuff. So I thought that was quite funny as well how they
Mm.
leaned into that. The vocalist does give a pretty characterful performance as well. I want to put that out there before I complain a little bit. I'd say the only thing, and this again is more of a personal thing, is that with kind of I don't want to say novelty bands, but when the kind of central idea of a band or a song is like intrinsically tied to an idea. So like with these guys, it's we're pirates, right? Like that's the central
Mm.
kind of idea at the heart of it. I think I personally find it a bit difficult. Like I can enjoy the music of it and I can enjoy the humor of it and I can really enjoy it like for what it is, which I do. But I personally, because it's so intrinsically tied to that idea and kind of tied to a kind of gimmick, if you like, I personally don't get that thing that takes it to the extra level of being like, whoa, this is awesome. Like I can enjoy it, which I do, as I say, but it just kind of, for me, the novelty kind of blocks it from getting into the like truly awesome
Mm.
area. Although that being said, would I like go with you to like an Ailstorm gig or whatever? Absolutely. I am there every day of the week because like despite the fact that, the novelty does kind of get in the way for me a little bit, just for me personally, I did still really enjoy it. And I can imagine that seeing them live would just be an absolute trip.
I was gonna say I thought instead of the novelty, you were gonna talk about how you didn't like the vocals so
No,
much.
no,
So I was
no.
gonna make a point that I think generally, I think the vocalist, I think he is good, but I think a lot of tracks, this is just about Ailstorm in general, but I think his performance is generally what makes or breaks a song. Because sometimes a song can have good theming, can have good everything else, but it can just be like a bad performance from him. He's not as solid as the main singer in Sabaton or Powerwolf, or even like Halloween or Candlemass.
I had a bit of a point about Ailstorm that I forgot to make.
Mm.
Is that like because of the novelty and it being attached, when I try to kind of detach it from that, if I'm looking at it through like a really critical lens, it does just kind of sound a bit like sort of like Andrew WK, like Pirate DLC edition. Like it just sounds like Andrew WK for Pirate Larpers, basically. Because like Andrew WK has a lot of songs about, when it's time to party, we'll party hard. If you basically just took like an Andrew WK song and put a pirate costume on, you'd probably get something that sounded quite similar to Storm. But as I say, that's not necessarily a bad thing. This video got blocked for otherwise, so I'm singing it now because I don't want to get copyrighted. I can't sing.
All right, so your last song, Visions by Pendulum, the biggest shock to me was like the intro. I've put down in my notes that it's kind of like electric synth dubstep, kind of crazy, but I was into it. I liked it. Really funky beat from there on out. Like the funky tune was the main sort of part of it because the lyrics, for the most part, were like literally incomprehensible. But it felt like a real like Beat Saber song. Like I could see hitting fucking blocks in VR to this. I'd probably like to hear more Pendulum songs like it. Although I did think it was a bit too long to just be like this one funky beat. Otherwise, yeah, it was pretty good.
So, moving on to the bonus track, number 10, Love Me and Let Me Go by Ashley Tisdale, otherwise known as Sharpay, or is it Brooklyn from Sweet Life of Zack and Cody? I literally looked it up this morning and I can't remember what her fucking name was.
Could not tell you.
What did I think of this song? Well, kind of like with Whores and Hounds, it's not something that I would go out of my way to listen to because this kind of like modern pop trap kind of EDM fusion just kind of isn't really my bag. So, I don't think there's really a lot of point in me saying, oh, it wasn't really my thing, blah, blah, blah. So what I'm going to do instead, given that you have the prerequisite in mind of like, oh, it wasn't really my thing, so I'm not necessarily going to be like, wow, this is awesome, this is amazing, gold star. What I can do is credit it for what I think it does right, because I would say that with a lot of ex-Disney stars, even though after they kind of leave Disney and like go off to do their own thing, a lot of the stuff they put out, even though it is supposed to be like, like chart-friendly pop stuff, I feel like people with a lot of ex-Disney stars just kind of have this like instinctive spidey sense where even though it sounds like, kind of chart-ready pop music, I feel like if you put the ex-Disney star in a line of like pop stars and said which one is the ex-Disney star, for some reason I have the inkling that basically everyone would be able to sniff it out pretty instantly for like no specific reason whatsoever. So like, people like Bridget Mendel maybe come to mind. But what I will say is that with this, I didn't get that. Like I didn't get that weird thing where I'm like, yep, it sounds like an ex-Disney Channel star made this. Like it just sounds like a very professionally made piece of chart-ready pop music that doesn't kind of have that uncanny Disney aura kind of clouding it, which I can definitely give her credit for, because I think, if you are coming from that, it probably does take a while to move past it. But I feel like the fact that she was to some degree able to do that is definitely commendable. Ashley and her writers, like you can tell they're definitely writing for the charts, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. Like again, it might not be my thing, but given when this came out in 2019 and the kind of sound that it's going for, I can actually imagine it faring pretty well on the charts, or at least faring pretty well with general audiences. Like that kind of dramatic, airy sort of pop trap production was very popular at the time, and the kind of vocal chop edit chorus that they try and do, that was another quite popular thing. And none of it is done in a particularly tacky way. None of it is done in like a particularly obnoxious way. It just, I mean, it's not like the most individual, like boundary pushing thing ever, but I can look at it and go, this would fit in very well with that kind of chart music of that time and sound pretty decent while doing it. The sort of emotionally tumultuous lyrics as well, they do kind of just fit very snugly into that kind of like pop breakup song category. But again, if that's what it's trying to do, it might not be my thing, but it does it decently well, I think. I would say that I wish the track had kind of a stronger, stickier melody, like with Glass Animals. I wish it had like a bit of a stronger melodic presence at the heart of it, because Ashley Tisdale on this song, she does have a kind of very airy, kind of almost ghostly feel to how she delivers her vocals. Like it's quite understated. And so I wish there was just that like one kind of big hook to kind of raise it to the next level, if you get what I mean. Because
Mm,
you know it does kind of have that, like the vocal manipulations on the chorus, but you know there's not that big like sing along chorus that maybe.
mm,
Although then maybe that would have kind of given it some Disney Channel vibes. I don't know, but you know I think something a bit stronger probably would have been welcomed by
right.
myself. You know, Ashley does have overall a pretty nice dramatic performance throughout the track, as I've said already, and as a last note, so I
Mm,
know you wanted me to get into this, the Dove Cameron versus Ashley Tisdale debate,
yeah.
right?
We're
And
starting this beef, this drama.
my way in on this, right, is that I would say, again, it might not be my thing, right? But what I can say with absolute certainty is that it is a lot more honourable to try to write songs to fit in with the pop charts and do that successfully without having the kind of ex-Disney kind of uncanny stigma attached to it, which this track does. I think it's much more honourable to do that than basically try to be Billie Eilish and somehow appearing more bland in the process. Like, as much as I might not enjoy like a lot of Billie Eilish's music, I can't say that you know a Billie Eilish song when you hear one. The only thing I can say about
Yeah, but
Dove
that's
Cameron's
usually because
music,
it's fucking crap and no
maybe,
one
but
else would make that kind of music.
well, apart from Dove Cameron, because the
Yeah,
only thing
and
I
her
can say
music
about
is
Dove
also
Cameron's
fucking
music,
crap.
I mean, the only thing I can say about her stuff really is that it sounds like a more watered down, kind of bland, trying to be edgy imitation of Eilish's music. And you could argue that everything I've said means that I think Ashley Tisdale is just like a general imitation of the pop charts. But again, I'd say it's better to fit in, try to fit in and succeed than just blatantly try to copy somebody else but do a worse job. So in terms of this track versus Dove Cameron's music, this track comes out firmly on top, I would say.
So basically, Ashley Tisdale makes good music and Dove Cameron fucking sucks and should stop making music right now and go back to Descendants. Dove Cameron and Ashley Tisdale need to fucking rap battle.
That would actually be fucking. I've never really seen like a pop star beef. Like you see rap beefs and like people go back and forth with diss tracks all the time. I've never really seen like a pop diss track aimed at another artist
Yeah, like
that
a
I can.
pop track that sends for someone else.
I mean, maybe I'm just like forgetting one. Put it in post editing, Evan, if you come across one that you remember. But like, I think that would be quite hilarious if
Mm.
there ended up being some kind of Ashley Tisdale Dove Cameron pop song beef. I'd be there for that, to be honest. So now it is time for that special bit of the show where we go through and we give each batch a collective rating out of 10. And I will let you go first, my friend. You can go to 2 decimal places, 3 decimal places, whatever your heart desires. Just
Put the first one for a 6. Next one, I'm gonna go for a 5. The other one for me, that's gonna get a 7. Body of Water is gonna get a fucking 3. Feel the Love.
why?
That's gonna get a
Why?
5. Dance Commander can get a 5.5. I lied. I'm gonna do halves. Joy can get an 8. Right, that's that third one can get an 8. That the other one for me. Get You Down can get a 7, and Visions can get a 7.
This
So
could be
that's
good.
like what 55.5 out of a possible 90.
Okay, so 55.5 divided by 9, 6.2,
Yeah.
6.16 technically. I'll
Right.
go with 6.16 because that's the rating, obviously. And
Yeah.
I will take that. I think overall that might be one of your better rated ones of mine. I've got to be honest, this might be your best. There were a few songs that maybe I wasn't so keen on, maybe just because the style they were going for wasn't really my thing. But I'd say there were definitely a few where I had some criticisms here or there, but overall, most of them were pretty damn good. I'd maybe tweak some things here or there, but overall, I thought this was a very, very solid selection. I think I'm going to go 6.9. I'm even tempted to say 6.95, which I will. I maybe had a few too many collective criticisms for me to kind of comfortably push it into the green zone, if you like. But it was like, it's knocking at the door. This was your best, I'd say. Definitely. I don't know whether that bodes well for any of your future selections, but
I think it does because now I know what music's good, and which is just put. I'm going to assume Phil Collins took the he takes the W, put him in every playlist, and it's going to be sorted.
Yeah, so that is the episode. Thank you very much for joining us all. It's been an absolute pleasure to do it with you again, my friend. It's been much too long. I think the last time we did it was like September 22. Possibly, or something ridiculous like that. I would definitely say that the next episode that we do of this should not take nearly as long. So, I'd say maybe expect another episode within the next couple of months, possibly. This one, because of how good your submissions were, it got me excited to do more of these. I think the next one might actually be a guest spot episode. I might fit another one with yourself in before then. But there is definitely another confirmed guest spot episode coming down the pipeline. But mostly it's just going to be business as usual. Me and Gallagher chatting shit, listening to some tunes, possibly doing some Fortnite Boogie Down challenges in their work cubicles. But yes, thank you all very much for watching. And until next time, we will see you both later on. Have you got anything that you'd like to plug, my friend, before we head off?
Not particularly, since it could be another 3 ages before I make another video. But yeah, no, it's just been good coming back on and doing another video.
Just watch his videos. Watch his ones on the Horrible Histories reboots, particularly. They're great. And I don't think his Skylanders reviews get enough love either for the effort that was put into them. So just go watch his stuff. It's brilliant. And
Thank you.
Until next time, we will see you both later. We'll see you all later. There's probably, there might not be more than 2 of you watching this, but whatever. Anyway, goodbye.